Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well. Today we're doing the final wrap up for March. Middle grade March is over. We are into April now, and I have one final wrap up. My wrap up has been split. It will be split into three. So the first two have already been posted. If you haven't seen those, I will link my middle grade March playlist below. So be sure and go back and watch those. But I have 9 more books to wrap up for you today. So in total in March, I read 28 books, which is great. I'm pretty happy with that. I think that puts me at 45 for the year so far. So yeah, let's talk about these last 9 books that I read in the month. To start with, going into kind of the last 10 days of March, as you know, things have gotten a little bit strange in the world. So I was definitely feeling the comfort reads and the rereads at the end of the month. So I started off this last chunk of reads with a couple rereads. The first is the first book in the Enola Holmes series by Nancy Springer. This is The Case of the Missing Marques. And this is a mystery that follows the younger sister of Sherlock Holmes. She is, I think, around 14 in this book, and she goes off to find her missing mother. And I've talked about this mystery series before, so I won't get into it too much. I love them. I think they're fantastic for both kids and adults. I think the mysteries are clever. I think Enola is a fantastic character, and I think you should read them. Again, this is the first one, so I'll start with this one, and then there's 5 more after this, 6 total. There also is a movie coming out for this at the end of the year, November, I think, starring Millie Bobby Brown, who was 11 in Stranger Things. You've seen that? Starring her as Enola Holmes, which I'm really excited to see. I think she's going to do a really good job, and hopefully they do a true adaptation. We'll see. Then I picked up Artemis Fowl by Owen Colfer. I think it's pronounced Owen Colfer. I could be wrong. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. But anyway, I read this years and years and years ago. I don't even remember how long. I think I was reading the series as it was coming out, but I never finished it. I read the first 4, 5, 6, I don't remember. And again, there's a movie coming out for this one pretty soon. And so I thought I would give it a reread. This is a fantasy that follows Artemis Fowl, who is a young criminal mastermind, basically, and he decides he is going to, he wants to take on the fairy world, and he wants some of their gold. And obviously there's more of a plot than that, but that's kind of the overarching plot. And I thoroughly enjoyed this. I actually did not think I would enjoy this as much on a reread, but I really, really liked it. And I definitely want to continue on and read the rest of the series. Unfortunately, I did go and watch the movie trailer for this after I finished reading it. And it pretty much looks like they took the title and nothing else from the book. So I don't have high hopes for that movie, unfortunately. But I'll probably still check it out. Next, I picked up Here in the Real World by Sarah Pennypacker. This is a new release, and this follows Ware and Jolene, 2 kids in a summer. They are kind of on their own. Ware is supposed to go to like a rec center where they do like a day camp type thing. He really doesn't want to, and so he goes, but then just goes to this abandoned church, an empty lot in a lot next door, and meets Jolene, and they spend their summer playing in this empty lot, or this abandoned lot, instead of at the rec center where he's supposed to be. I really liked this book. It is very slow moving. It's not like a high adventure plot or anything. It's a very slow moving, thoughtful book. Ware is a character who is, he's an observer. He's very introverted, and he really enjoys kind of being on the outside, observing things. And that's what he likes. He doesn't feel like an outsider. That's just where he likes to be. And so there's some really good conversations in this book about different personality types and being allowed to be who you are, and, you know, just how you're viewing things differently. It's not that you don't like people necessarily. It's just how you like to interact or how you feel comfortable. And it's a lot of conversation about, you know, something being, there's not something wrong with you if that's you. There were just some great quotes. You can see I'm not a big marker in my books usually, although I'm trying to do more of that. But there were some fantastic quotes in here. Here's an example. In that precise moment, he learned that the place that he had always felt so right, standing enough apart from a situation that he could observe it, in the castle watchtower, as he'd come to think of it later, was wrong. But anyway, I did really like this. It is a slow, thoughtful, kind of introverted book, and I just enjoyed kind of taking it in slowly. Then I picked up another reread, Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. This is about a boy. I think it's set in the 60s. It was written in the 60s, so 50s, 60s. But it follows a young boy who lives kind of back in the Ozarks, and he wants a pair of hunting dogs. He saves up and gets his dogs, and then it goes on to the adventures they have together and the hunts they take together. I'm not quite sure why I decided to reread this. I read it once before, and I'm pretty sure my mom read it to me when I was younger, so I think I've heard it twice before, and I've seen the movie. And I know it doesn't have a happy ending. Yet somehow I felt the need to reread it. So I did, and I cried a lot. It's a good book, but it's very cry-worthy. So, yeah, I cried a lot during this book, but it was good. Then I picked up this book, The Lost Track of Time by Paige Britt. This has been on my Goodreads TBR for ages, and I don't remember where I originally heard about it years ago. But I picked it up from the library, and now I have all my library books indefinitely because I can't return them. So I decided to go ahead and pick it up. It's a lot of fun. It has some neat illustrations inside, which of course now I can't find any. But it's got some fun illustrations. This was a really fun book. It is a fantasy, and it follows Penelope, who is kind of a daydreamer. She likes to just kind of wander through life and through her spare time, but her mother is very structured, and so her summer, every single day, every minute, is very structured. You know, piano practice, cooking lessons, riding her bike, everything is scheduled down to the minute. And then until they find a day, a lost day, basically a day where somehow nothing got scheduled. And she stumbles into this kind of fantasy world that is ruled by Kronos. So again, everything in this world is very controlled, and everything that's not essential is considered a waste of time. And so she meets up with a friend, and they decide they go and try to stop Kronos from controlling everybody. It was really fun. There's a lot of very fun wordplay in this book. It very much reminded me of The Phantom Tollbooth. So kind of along those lines, if you like that, you would probably like this. But just lots of fun wordplay, very just kind of whimsical, and yeah, just a fun fantasy. I really, really enjoyed this book. Next, I picked up another reread, and this one's not even middle grade, and that is Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. And if you pay close attention, you know I actually just read this for the first time last month. I read it at the beginning of February. But I decided to go ahead and reread it, because do you ever read a book and then like a few weeks later, you know you read it, but it's like you weren't paying attention when you read it? That's how I felt. So I decided to go ahead and reread it. It's a fast read. I decided to go ahead and reread it before I continued on with the trilogy. This is a YA sci-fi story set in a world where there are epics. So they're people with supernatural abilities. So superheroes, only they're not heroic. So they have different abilities. So Steelheart is one of these epics ruling over what is Chicago. It's called New Chicago. And then there's this group of people that are trying to take down the epics. It's really fun. The main character's great and funny, and just so, yeah, I love this book. I really enjoyed it the first time I read it. I loved it so much more the second time, and I'm already continuing on with the series, and yeah, I'm having a great time with it. After that, I read Mitosis, also by Brandon Sanderson, which is a short story that's set in this same world with the epics, and it's only about 50 pages, and I read it in like an hour. And again, very fun glimpse at one specific epic and one kind of specific battle they have, and I really enjoyed that too. After that, I had another reread. I told you there were lots of rereads, and that was Little Town on the Prairie by Laura Ingalls Wilder. I have been going through this series, rereading the series over the last couple of years, and then I've kind of been just kind of rushing myself through these last few. And I really enjoyed this one. This one is set... Laura is a teenager now and going to school and looking forward to getting her teacher's license or certificate, whatever they call it, so she can teach. This includes kind of her first interactions with Almanzo. And yeah, it's a really fun story. I love just kind of the community and the family and just the fun little adventures they have. And then I only have one more. My final book of March was The Gallery by Laura Marques Fitzgerald. This is set in the 20s and follows a girl, Martha, who becomes a maid at a wealthy newspaperman's house. But there's a mystery. His wife is going crazy, basically. She's not well, and so she's kept locked up on the top floor. Yeah, very, very Jane Eyre vibes here, without the romance. And yeah, it was pretty predictable. I didn't think it was great. It was fine. It was just very meh. Like, it doesn't stick out to me. I won't read it again. I won't keep it on my shelf. I probably wouldn't recommend it to people, but there was nothing wrong with it. It was just kind of meh. So if that sounds interesting to you, the setting is cool. It didn't have anything kind of extra to make it worthwhile. I didn't feel like. Anyway, that is it. Those are my last 9 books of the month. Be sure and let me know down below if you've read any of these books, what your thoughts are, what your favorite book that you read in March was. I would love to have more to add to my list for next year's middle grade March. I hope you and your families are doing well and enjoying your kind of slower pace of life right now. And thank you for taking time out of your day to watch.